Plant number 1, Turkish Rocket, Bunias orientalis, a perennial brassica relative that produces more harvestable green material per square foot than almost any other perennial vegetable I've tested, from a plant that lives for 20+ years and tolerates conditions that would kill most vegetables outright. And here's what I need you to understand immediately. This is not Arugula. The common name causes confusion. It's a completely different genus, a much larger plant, and it produces through conditions that standard Arugula bolts through and dies in within weeks. Turkish Rocket is native to Western Asia and Eastern Europe, present across a range from Turkey through the Caucasus into Central Asia, and has been used as a food plant for at least 2,000 years. It appears in Ottoman-era botanical manuscripts as a vegetable of the Turkish steppe and mountainous regions. Eastern European communities, particularly in Poland, Ukraine, and the Carpathian mountain regions, maintained it as a kitchen garden perennial through the 19th century. Ethnobotanical records from 19th century Germany document its use as a substitute for mustard greens. Unlike many plants on this list, it's still actively eaten as a foraged and cultivated green in parts of Turkey and the Caucasus today, one of the very few on this list with a genuinely unbroken culinary tradition. Turkish Rocket produces large, deep green, glossy leaves from early spring through mid-summer, going semi-dormant in peak heat and re-emerging strongly in fall. Young leaves, harvested when 4 to 6 inches long, have a mild, peppery, slightly mustardy flavor similar to young arugula, but smoother and without the sharpness that makes arugula polarizing for some people. Larger leaves intensify in flavor and are better cooked than raw. In spring, the plant sends up tender shoots that can be harvested exactly like broccoli rabi. Yellow flower clusters, appearing in late spring, are edible and mildly spicy. Harvest the outer leaves continuously throughout the growing season. The plant regenerates aggressively and rewards frequent cutting. This is where Turkish Rocket earns its place. A mature plant, 3 feet tall, 3 feet wide, can yield 5 to 8 pounds of harvestable leaves and shoots per season across multiple harvests. At organic salad green pricing of $5 to $8 per pound, that's $25 to $64 of greens per plant per year from a plant producing for 20+ years. Nutritionally, Turkish Rocket belongs to the Brassicaceae family and shares the glucosionate compounds associated with cancer-preventative properties in broccoli and other brassicas. It provides meaningful vitamin C, vitamin K, and calcium, a nutritional profile that holds up well compared to more familiar leafy greens. Hardy to zone 3, plants reach 3 to 4 feet tall with a 3-foot spread at maturity. Full sun preferred, but tolerates partial shade with 5 to 6 hours of direct light. Critical advantage for difficult sites. Tolerates poor soils, heavy clay, compacted ground, and significant drought once established. Self-seeds if flowers are allowed to develop. Manage flower stalks to prevent naturalization beyond your intended area. Check invasive status in your state before planting. pH 5.5 to 7.5. Year 2 plants provide first significant harvest, Year 3 full production. Clumping growth with enthusiastic self-seeding where it's happy. Turkish Rocket is one of the most allelophic perennial vegetables. It releases biochemical compounds into the soil that suppress weed seed germination in its immediate vicinity. A mature Turkish Rocket plant keeps bare soil essentially weed-free beneath its canopy through the growing season. You're getting food and automated weed suppression from one plant. In a no-dig garden system, that combination is extraordinarily useful and genuinely underappreciated. Young leaves in salads directly, larger leaves wilted with garlic and lemon. They hold up to heat better than most greens and don't turn to mush. Flower buds stir-fried with sesame oil. Traditional Turkish preparation involves cooking mature leaves with yogurt and garlic, an extraordinary combination that cuts the bitterness perfectly. Excellent added to mixed leafy green soups in the final few minutes of cooking. Turkish Rocket maxes out the green leafy layer from ground level. Plant number 2 takes production vertical, filling a space in your food forest that almost nothing else can occupy.
Plant number 2, Caucasian spinach or Hablitzia. Hablitzia tamnoides, Caucasian spinach, a perennial climbing vine from the mountains of the Caucasus region that produces massive quantities of spinach-flavored leaves from the shadiest spots in your garden, places where most vegetables simply cannot grow. This plant fills a vertical layer of a food forest understory. It climbs, it thrives in shade, and it produces more spinach-flavored greens per square foot of actual ground space than almost any other perennial vegetable on this list. Hablitzia is native to the Caucasus Mountains, the mountainous region between the Black Sea and the Caspian Sea, encompassing parts of modern Georgia, Armenia, Azerbaijan, and Russia. Mountain communities in this region have foraged and cultivated it as a spring green for centuries. It was introduced to Scandinavian permaculture research, specifically through the work of Stephen Barstow in Norway, who has been growing and documenting it for decades, and has been championed by Tonsmeyer and Jockey in edible forest gardens as one of the most productive shade-tolerant perennial vegetables available. It's still actively eaten as a foraged green in rural Caucasus communities today, a living tradition, not just a historical footnote. Hablitzia produces young climbing shoots in early spring. These are the prime harvest moment. Tender and mild when 4 to 8 inches long, they're harvested and eaten exactly like asparagus, steamed, sautéed, or roasted. Following the shoot phase, the vine produces heart-shaped leaves continuously through the growing season that taste remarkably like spinach, smooth, mild, slightly earthy, without spinach's characteristic sharpness. The vine can reach 6 to 8 feet in its growing season, then dies back completely in winter and re-emerges from the root crown in spring. Harvest leaves from the vine continuously. It produces faster than most people can eat it at peak season. A mature Hablitzia vine produces 4 to 7 pounds of harvestable leaves and shoots annually, comparable to good King Henry in volume, but from vertical growing space rather than horizontal ground space. This distinction matters enormously in space-limited urban homesteads. Nutritionally, it parallels spinach closely, significant iron, calcium, vitamin C, vitamin A precursors, with the critical additional benefit of producing in shade where other food plants can't compete. At organic spinach prices of $5 to $8 per pound, that's $20 to $56 worth of greens per year from a plant that lives 20 plus years. Hardy to zone 3-4, consistently survives zone 4 winters in documented trials. Vines reach 6 to 8 feet seasonally, requires a support structure, trellis, fence, stake, or allowed to climb through a shrub. The critical specification that sets it apart, Hablitzia performs well in full shade to partial shade, the only perennial climbing vegetable I'm aware of that actually thrives in genuinely low light conditions. Prefers moist, humus-rich soil, pH 5.5 to 7.0. First harvest of shoots in year 1, modest, good leaf production from year 2, full production from year 3. Clumping root crown, does not spread by rhizome, stays exactly where you planted. Because Hablitzia climbs and its productive zone is its leaves rather than fruits or roots, it can be grown in genuinely tiny ground footprints, planted at the base of a north-facing fence, on a trellis attached to a building wall, or allowed to climb through an ornamental shrub. In an urban homestead situation where ground space is limited, this plant can produce 5+ pounds of greens annually from a 1 square foot ground footprint. No other perennial vegetable I know of comes close to that ratio of production to ground space occupied. Virtually unknown in commercial horticulture, no nursery infrastructure exists for production at scale. Leaves are too delicate for commercial cold chain distribution, and the plant requires 2 to 3 years to reach full production, meaning no year 1 or year 2 commercial revenue. For a homesteader, these constraints are completely irrelevant. You plant it once and it pays you back for 20 years. Shoots steamed or briefly sautéed with butter and a squeeze of lemon, a genuine delicacy in April when almost nothing else is producing fresh food. Young leaves raw in salads when small and tender. Larger leaves wilted with olive oil, garlic, and lemon in any preparation calling for spinach. It substitutes perfectly. Traditional Caucasian preparations include both fresh use through the season and dried or fermented preservation for winter months. Hablitzia fills the vertical layer with leafy greens from shade. Plant number 3 goes underground and produces the most visually striking harvest of anything on this entire list. Plant number 3, Chinese artichoke or Crosnes. For this plant, I'm going to hold these up and let you look at them for a moment, because these tubers look like something from a different planet. Chinese artichoke, Stachys affinis, also called Crosnes, from the French village of Crosnes where they were first cultivated in Europe after introduction from China in 1882. These spiraling white tubers look completely unlike any other vegetable. They taste extraordinary, and they are essentially unknown in mainstream vegetable gardening, despite being one of the most productive and lowest maintenance perennial root vegetables available to zone 4 to 8 growers. Chinese artichoke has been cultivated in China and Japan for centuries as a kitchen garden perennial, documented in Chinese agricultural texts from at least the 16th century. Japanese cultivation, where it's known as pierogi, has continued unbroken to the present day. Pierogi are a traditional New Year's food in Japan, served pickled in red shiso as a symbol of health and longevity. The plant arrived in France in 1882 when Japanese tubers were sent to the village of Crosnes, where they were enthusiastically cultivated and briefly fashionable in Parisian restaurants through the 1890s. Victorian-era kitchen garden manuals from the 1890s mention them as a novelty of exceptional flavor. They disappeared from European cultivation in the early 20th century as food fashion shifted and the awkward-looking tubers proved difficult for commercial processors to handle. Chinese artichoke produces its tubers in autumn, October-November, when the above-ground tops die back and the plant's energy concentrates below ground. The tubers, typically 1 to 2 inches long and half an inch wide, with a distinctive spiral shape, are harvested by digging the bed carefully. They taste like a cross between artichoke hearts and water chestnuts, sweet, crisp, mildly nutty, with a satisfying crunch that holds up even after brief cooking. Unlike most root vegetables, they can be eaten completely raw with no preparation required beyond washing. Leave some tubers in the ground after harvest and the plant reestablishes itself naturally for the following year. A 4x4 planting of approximately 16 plants produces 4 to 8 pounds of tubers per autumn, indefinitely with no replanting. At specialty market prices, where Crosnes occasionally appear at $15 to $20 per pound in gourmet markets, this represents $60 to $160 worth of food annually from 16 square feet. Nutritionally, Chinese artichoke tubers are rich in Stachys, a prebiotic oligosaccharide that specifically feeds beneficial bifidobacterium species in the gut microbiome. The prebiotic fiber content is genuinely significant, meaningful enough that Japanese traditional medicine has long associated pierogi consumption with digestive health, a claim that modern prebiotic research is beginning to validate. Hardy to zone 5 with protection to zone 4, plants reach 12 to 18 inches tall with small ornamental purple-pink flowers through summer. Full sun to partial shade, genuinely flexible on light requirements, spreads by rhizome to fill a bed over time, plant where you want a permanent planting or contain with buried root barrier edging. Prefers loose, moderately fertile soil, pH 6.0 to 7.0. First harvest of shoots in year 1, modest, good production from year 2, self-renewing indefinitely with no management beyond annual harvest. The tubers of Chinese artichoke do not need to be peeled. The skin is thin, soft, and completely edible. This makes preparation time genuinely minimal. Wash under cold water, eat raw, or cook whole. For people concerned about time investment in food production relative to return, this matters more than it sounds. Additionally, the summer flowers are significant nectar sources for bumblebees. Chinese artichoke beds in full bloom through July attract pollinator species that then service every other food plant within foraging range of your garden. The distinctive spiral shape that makes Crosnes visually striking is also what makes them commercially impossible. They cannot be processed mechanically without destroying them. They have a shelf life of approximately 5 to 7 days after harvest before quality declines significantly. Too small and irregular for standard packaging or retail display. In Japan, the solution is pickling, which extends their use considerably, but that requires processing investment unworkable at commercial scale for a product with no established market. Raw with a dipping sauce, remarkable texture, conversation-starting appearance. Roasted whole at high heat with olive oil and flaky salt, they caramelize beautifully, and the flavor deepens dramatically. Pickled in rice vinegar with shiso leaf, the traditional Japanese preparation, genuinely extraordinary and worth making. Stir-fried with ginger and garlic as a side dish, added to soups or stews in the last 5 minutes of cooking to preserve texture and sweetness. Chinese artichoke gives you the most unusual harvest experience on this list. Plant number 4 earns its place through something different entirely, surviving where nothing else can, producing for over 2,000 years. Plant number 4. And this one earns its place through sheer tenacity, Sylvetta arugula, Diplotaxis tenuifolia, called wall rocket in England and Sylvetta in Italy, where it's been growing in the cracks of ancient Roman walls, in gravel paths and along sun-baked rocky hillsides for thousands of years without anyone planting it, watering it, or paying attention to it. This is not the annual arugula you buy in seed packets. This is the original, true perennial wild arugula, the species that Romans were eating while Julius Caesar was alive, and it produces continuously for 20 or more years from conditions that would kill any standard garden vegetable within a season. Diplotaxis tenuifolia is native to the Mediterranean region and has been continuously used as a food plant since classical antiquity, over 2,000 years of unbroken culinary tradition. Roman agricultural writers, including Columella and Pliny the Elder, documented its cultivation and use in the 1st century CE. It remained a constant presence in Italian, Provençal, and Spanish kitchen gardens through the medieval period and Renaissance, without interruption or rediscovery. In Italy, particularly in Rome and throughout Lazio, Blasio, it's still the preferred form of arugula from many traditional preparations, sold in markets as Rucola selvatica, wild arugula. The annual arugula, Aruca sativa, that dominates modern salad markets is a completely different species, selected for rapid commercial production with a broader leaf and milder, blander flavor. Sylvetta produces its deeply lobed, narrow leaves continuously through the growing season, with two peak periods, early spring before heat arrives and autumn as temperatures cool. It tolerates summer heat significantly better than annual arugula and continues producing through conditions that bolt annual varieties within days. The flavor is markedly more intense than commercial arugula, deeply peppery, complex, with a distinct mustard oil character that marks it as genuinely different from the annual version. Harvest outer leaves continuously, leaving the central crown intact. The yellow flowers, produced prolifically through the season, are edible, beautiful as a garnish, and have a mild version of the leaf's peppery character. A mature plant, year 2 onward, yields approximately 1 to 2 pounds of leaves per season from a plant occupying roughly 18 inches of space. From a 4-foot row of 3 plants, 6 total square feet, that's 3 to 6 pounds of premium arugula annually at roughly $8 to $12 per pound organic retail, $24 to $72 from 6 square feet of near permanent planting that requires 0 annual intervention. Nutritionally, Sylvetta is exceptionally high in glucosinolates, the sulfur compounds associated with protective effects against oxidative stress, and provides meaningful vitamin K, vitamin C, and folate. The more intense flavor directly reflects higher concentration of these beneficial compounds compared to commercial annual arugula. Hardy to zone 5, often surviving zone 4 with minimal protection, reaches 12 to 18 inches tall with an 18-inch spread. Full sun essential for maximum production, tolerates brief partial shade but will lean toward light sources. The critical growing advantage, tolerates extremely poor soil, thin rocky soil, gravel, compacted ground, and conditions with minimal available nutrition, a genuine Mediterranean rock garden plant. Drought tolerant to an extraordinary degree once established, pH 6.0 to 8.0, tolerating alkaline conditions that most vegetables cannot handle. Self-seeds modestly where it's happy, clumping growth with some self-seeding spread over years. Sylvetta's deep taproot, which can reach 2 to 3 feet in suitable soil, makes this plant essentially drought-proof once established. I have a 3-year-old plant growing in a gravel path between pavers that receives 0 irrigation, no fertilization, no attention of any kind, and produces 8 to 10 harvests per year. It has survived 2 consecutive drought summers without a single drop of supplemental water. No other vegetable I grow can make that claim. If you have a hot, dried, neglected corner of your property, Sylvetta is your answer. Too small a yield per plant per picking for commercial harvest efficiency, highly perishable after harvest, wilts noticeably within 24 hours without refrigeration, flavor too intense and too variable for mass market fresh salad use where consistency and mildness are prioritized over character, and it's perennial. Once sold as a plant, the nursery never sees that customer for seeds again. All the wrong economics for commercial production, all the right characteristics for permanent home production. Younger leaves in salads directly, this is the true wild arugula used in authentic Neapolitan pizza preparations, added raw after the pizza comes out of the oven so the heat wilts it gently without cooking it. Larger leaves in pasta dishes, wilted briefly in warm olive oil with garlic, traditional Roman preparation, dressed simply with olive oil and lemon, served alongside grilled fish or roasted meats. The flowers as garnish on any composed dish, they add visual interest and a gentle peppery note. Sylvetta thrives where nothing else can grow. Plant number 5 is the one I've saved for last because it does something no other plant on this list can do, and it does it for 80 years.
Plant number 5 is Siberian Pea Shrub, Caragana arborescens, a nitrogen-fixing woody perennial from the steppes of Siberia in Central Asia that produces edible seeds, small, lentil-like and high in complete protein, from a shrub that can live for 80 years, survives temperatures to -40 degrees Fahrenheit, grows in the most hostile soils on Earth, and simultaneously improves the fertility of every inch of ground within its root zone. Siberian pea shrub, Caragana arborescens, has been used as a food plant by the nomadic peoples of the Mongolian steppe and Central Asian grasslands for thousands of years. The seeds harvested in summer as a reliable protein source along seasonal migration routes where no other substantial food plants could survive the climate. Russian ethnobotanical records from the 19th century document Siberian communities cooking the immature pea pods and seeds as a vegetable crop through harsh continental winters. The plant came to Western permaculture attention primarily through the research and writing of Martin Crawford at the Agroforestry Research Trust in Devon, England, who has been cultivating and systematically documenting its food production potential for over 25 years. It's now grown across permaculture food forests in Zone 3 to 9 regions globally, but almost never talked about outside dedicated permaculture circles. Siberian pea shrub produces small pea pods in early summer, June through July, each filled with 3 to 5 seeds resembling tiny peas. The immature green pods can be eaten whole, exactly like snow peas, with a mild, slightly sweet pea flavor that works raw or cooked. The mature dried seeds can be cooked like lentils or ground into flour, and here's the number that changes everything. They contain approximately 36% protein by dry weight, comparable to soybeans. A mature shrub produces approximately 4 to 8 pounds of dry seeds annually after year 4 or 5. Additionally, the young leaves are edible in spring, mildly flavored and protein-rich. The flowers, produced abundantly in spring, bright yellow, are edible and add genuine visual drama to the food forest edge. 5 mature Siberian pea shrubs in 100 square feet of space produce approximately 20 to 40 pounds of dry seed annually, comparable in protein yield to a meaningful soybean planting without any annual replanting, tillage, or herbicide requirement. At lentil equivalent pricing, that's $20 to $40 of protein food annually, scaling upward each year as the shrubs mature and the root systems expand. Critically, the protein profile of Karagana seeds is complete, containing all essential amino acids in reasonable ratios, making it one of the very few perennial vegetables capable of contributing meaningfully to human protein needs without animal products. For anyone building serious food self-sufficiency, this changes the equation. Hardy to Zone 2, the most cold-tolerant food-producing perennial shrub I'm aware of, period. Shrubs reach 10 to 15 feet at maturity over many years, useful as windbreaks as well as food producers, a dual function that makes them highly efficient in exposed northern sites. Full sun strongly preferred for maximum seed production. Extraordinary tolerance for poor soils, sand, clay, alkaline conditions, drought, and complete neglect. This plant evolved on the Siberian steppe, where almost nothing else survives. pH 6.0 to 8.5. First seed harvest in year 3 to 4, good production from year 5, productive lifespan of 50 to 80 plus years documented. Does not spread invasively, stays as a distinct manageable shrub. Siberian pea shrub fixes nitrogen at rates of 40 to 80 pounds of nitrogen per acre per year, one of the highest rates of any woody plant available to Zone 3 to 4 growers. Planted as part of a food forest guild, it simultaneously produces edible seeds and fertilizes every plant within its drip line, and provides a windbreak for cold-sensitive companions, and provides spring pollinator forage from its abundant flowers, and produces wood chip material if periodically coppiced. The coppiced branches also make excellent biomass for composting or biochar production. No single plant on this entire list does more functional work in a permaculture system per square foot of space occupied. Seeds require hand harvesting at the precise moment of maturity. The pods shatter when fully ripe, scattering seeds, which makes mechanized harvest nearly impossible without significant loss. The shrub takes 3 to 5 years to reach productive maturity, no early commercial revenue stream. The market for Karagana seeds as food is essentially non-existent commercially, meaning no processing infrastructure, packaging, or retail distribution exists. For a homesteader, all of this is completely irrelevant. You're growing it for your own household, and the seeds dry store for 2 to 3 years in sealed containers without refrigeration. Immature pods stir-fried in midsummer, mild, pleasant, genuinely like young snow peas. Mature dried seeds cooked like lentils, boiled 20 to 30 minutes until tender, seasoned with onion, garlic, and herbs, served as a side dish or incorporated into soups and stews. Seeds ground into high-protein flour for flatbreads or mixed with wheat flour for protein-enriched bread baking. The flours eaten raw as a trail snack or lightly fried in oil, traditional use across Central Asian regions where the shrub grows wild. Now, if you're already growing sea kale, good King Henry, and skirret from the previous video, here's exactly how these 5 plants slot into the layers around them. Turkish Rocket goes into the herbaceous layer anywhere you need bold green production. It's sun-tolerant and drought-tolerant enough for edges and exposed areas that shade lovers can't handle. Hablitzia takes the vertical layer in any shaded zone, north-facing fences, spaces under the lower canopy where ground-level plants struggle for light. It climbs through structure and produces where almost nothing else can. Chinese artichoke fills the root layer in partial shade beds. It's flexible on light and plays well with other understory plants without aggressive competition. Sylvetta goes in the driest, poorest, most neglected corners of your site, gravel paths, rocky slopes, south-facing walls, places where you currently have nothing productive. It converts wasted space into continuous salad greens. Siberian Pea Shrub goes on the north or west edges of your food forest as a windbreak and nitrogen source, positioned so its fertilizing root system benefits the plants downwind and within its drip line. In Zone 3-4, nothing else fills this role with the same productivity and cold hardiness. Together with the plants from the previous video, you now have complete coverage of every layer: canopy edges, lower shrub layer, herbaceous layer, vertical layer, ground level, and root zone. That's a fully functional food forest understory. Here's how these 5 plants extend and fill the harvest calendar alongside what you're already growing. March-April, Hablitzia's first climbing shoots, the earliest and most delicate harvest of the season. Turkish Rocket's first spring leaves as temperatures warm. May-June, Turkish Rocket at peak leaf and shoot production. Sylvetta Arugula with abundant leaves and flowers. Hablitzia fully leafed and producing continuously. Siberian Pea Shrub flowers edible. July-August, Turkish Rocket and Hablitzia continue, Siberian Pea Shrub immature pods ready for picking, Chinese Artichoke building tubers underground, Sylvetta in summer semi-dormancy but still producing in cooler microclimates. September-October, Chinese Artichoke tubers at prime, dig, harvest, replant the crown. Turkish Rocket with a strong second leaf flush in cooling weather, Siberian Pea Shrub seeds drying on the shrub for dry seed harvest. November-December, Sylvetta Arugula continuing into hard frost, genuinely one of the last vegetables standing. Stored Chinese artichoke tubers, dry Siberian pea seeds in storage for cooking through winter. January-February, Siberian pea seeds and Chinese artichoke tubers from storage, planning for the season ahead, which, for these 5 plants, requires almost no action beyond identifying where you want to expand. If you already have the basic perennial salad bed from the previous video, here's how to add these plants to it. Add 2 Turkish Rocket plants to any sunny edge of the existing bed. They'll expand the harvest volume significantly and extend the season with their fall flush. Add a Hablitzia on a post at the shadiest corner. It takes up essentially no ground space and adds a completely different harvest type, spring shoots, that the bed currently doesn't have. Add 3 Sylvetta plants anywhere you have poor soil or a dry spot the other plants don't want. Treat it as a gap filler that converts wasted ground into productive space. Result, a salad garden that now produces fresh greens from March through November with 0 replanting, 0 bed preparation, and a flavor range that covers mild spinach, Hablitzia, medium, good King Henry, peppery, Sylvetta, and bold mustard brassica, Turkish Rocket. More variety from permanent plantings than most annual gardens manage in their best year. For Zone 3-4 growers who've struggled to find perennial protein sources that actually survive, this is the framework that changes it. 5 Siberian pea shrubs in 100 square feet produces 20 to 40 pounds of complete protein seeds annually from year 5 indefinitely, without replanting, without irrigation beyond establishment, and without any care beyond the annual seed harvest. Pair them with Good King Henry, Zone 3, iron-rich leafy greens, and Turkish Rocket, Zone 3, vitamin-dense brassica greens for a complete nutritional picture from perennial plants that all survive -30°F winters without protection. This is the combination that would have made sense in a Siberian village garden or a northern monastery kitchen garden. Protein and micronutrients from plants that ask almost nothing of you once established. Total space required, approximately 300 square feet. Total replanting for the next 20 years, 0.
Let's do some homework together. You already know the basics. You're past the should I do this stage. So this assignment is different from last time. Pick 2, not 5, not 3, 2. The 2 plants from this list that fill the specific gaps in your existing food forest or garden. The 2 that grow in the conditions you actually have, not the conditions you wish you had. If you have shade and limited ground space, Hablitzia is your obvious answer. If you have dry, poor soil anywhere, Sylvetta converts it to productive space immediately. If you're in Zone 3-4 and need protein from perennial plants, Siberian Pea Shrub is non-negotiable. If you need maximum green production per square foot in sun, Turkish Rocket. If you want the most unusual and rewarding root harvest experience, Chinese Artichoke. Write those 2 down right now, then this week, identify the exact planting spot, verify zone compatibility, and source the plants. Links are in the description. Then come back here and tell me in the comments which 2 you picked, what gap they're filling in your existing system and your zone. If you're already growing any of these 5, especially Hablitzia or Siberian Pea Shrub, which are genuinely rare in home gardens, share your results. That on-the-ground knowledge is more valuable to this community than anything I can tell you from my own single garden. If this video added something useful to what you already know, hit the like button. Share it with anyone in your permaculture network who's moved past the beginner stage and wants to go deeper. Subscribe for the next video in this series. I'm going deep on perennial protein sources, shade-tolerant food forest design for genuinely cold climates, and medieval monastery crop systems that fed communities for centuries without a single annual vegetable. We're just getting started.